I think the first thing we need to name is so many of us, and I'll say many of us, in like a particular category. I think I'm talking to a lot of like us millennial women, definitely grew up, got into business in this very strong, like girl boss kind of culture, right? That was very much predicated on kind of like women making lots of money, stepping into things in a new way. And I think there was so much that was really, really, really positive about that. I mean, like my business wouldn't be here without that in many ways, right? Um, and equally, I think what's happened, like I've been in business for 10 years now. Oh, hey, Heather. Tides me over between podcast episodes. Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. Yes. And the new podcast is out. So I hope you guys are listening to that. I forgot to even say that. So thank you, Heather, for reminding me. But new season is out. Um, but I've been in business for a decade now. And I think what happened to a lot of millennial women over that decade is that they realized, like, yeah, girl bossing is good and all. And it can be exhausting, like I think like the pressure on women to be and do all of these things, and then kind of that added pressure for them to like make a ton of money doing it. And then like also do it while, having a ton of freedom and all of these things has really gotten to women over the last decade of being like, this is just a lot. Like, and I think especially like so much of our industry has grown up now too, especially as so many people have become mothers and have families, and like this idea has sort of, I think, gone stale for a lot of people, where it's like, yes, I love the idea of like being a boss and kind of, like I think so much of like the imagery or like thing that I know I grew up with, is like Sex in the City, and seeing that of like these like amazing like boss women, like, in the heels and going to like the city and building their careers. And, I think so many of us like really grew up on that kind of feed of information, right? Hey, Rebecca, good to have you. Oh, yay. Thank you, Emily, for listening and loving it. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Anyway, so many of us grew up on this kind of like, that was like fed to us, right? Um, so then we, you know, do our version of that, right? Um, and get tired out. I really believe is like the way to say it. I think also like so much has happened in our world that is like more exhausting, um, than it has ever been. And I think what it's creating is, um, this huge, maybe even like pushback on that, right? I think that's why you're seeing so much messaging in our industry being about like things being easy and all of this stuff, because we're like, don't want to hustle and have to be a boss like that in that way. And then equally, I think there's such like a, push toward like traditional values. I mean, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, if you know what I mean, but like in, like the US as a whole, right? Of, there's so much messaging about kind of like women being back in the home and all of that. And so it's this like huge cultural shift of like it used to be like get out of your home, get in your heels, go to like build your career, be a boss, do all those things that felt really, really empowering at the time, right? And then I think what so many women felt after that is like, oh, this is actually less empowering than I thought. Like I'm getting kind of burnt out on this. This is a lot. It's a lot to do all of this and hold all of this, and also mother and age and all of these things, right? I also think a lot of the facade of some of how sexy this was is kind of like gone away, shall we say? Like I think like when, I started a decade ago, like it wasn't so clear how toxic being an influencer could be, or some of those things that we now see so clearly, right? And so I say all that to kind of like set the stage for, I think a lot of things have shifted in terms of like macro, what's happening. I think, and in terms of people's experience, both in terms of like growing up, becoming, mothers, having different seasons of life, maybe they're taking care of aging parents, all of that, were like this sort of like, I just want to be a boss, goal has shifted. And then equally, you have the, like broader pushback. Um, and I think so many women are realizing like there is too much on us, like it is too much. Um, And also, what do we do about that? And like what comes next? But I feel like it's really important to just like ground into that first piece of like, I think the girl boss thing is getting really stale for people. And equally, I think it's what was propping up our industry for so long. Does anyone agree with me on that? Like, I'm so curious, y'all's thoughts. I would love to hear. This is not like I'm right 100%. This is like, these are my thoughts and observations. Like, I am certainly not um the foremost expert in all of this, but I've been doing this a decade and watching the industry, and it's kind of what I'm seeing, that um, it has grown a bit stale, and being the thing that so was doing so much of the work for a lot of us of like, oh yeah, every woman wants to like start her own business. That seems objectively obvious. Like, of course they want to do that. Of course they want to, make a ton of money. Like that, I think has shifted a bit. Um, and some of it rightly so and some of it wrongly so, I think. And it's it doesn't matter though. It just has, right? Emily says, yes, definitely feel that shift so strongly. Right. And so a lot of what was like pushing, I think, a huge amount of people into our space and into the industry, I think has slowed down pretty considerably in terms of like that real strong, like, I want to like go out there and build this shit kind of vibe that so much of our generation like came from and rode off of. And I think so many of the generations coming after us have maybe like seen a lot of those like boss women kind of burn out on that. Um, and probably feel somewhat differently about that. So if we're not having this sort of big influx of that, or if there's not a lot of excitement generated around that, then what I think has been happening in our industry is this pervasive focus on ease. Let me not say it like that, because I actually believe in ease. This pervasive focus on it being easy, right? To me, there's like a big difference between ease and easy. Such a big focus on easy. Like there's so much like soft girl messaging and all of that, and like like feminine energetics and all of that kind of stuff that I think was like the start of people sort of wanting to shift that, right? Where they're like, oh, I'm getting really burnt out, like building the funnel or whatever. I love this idea of like just being soft and feminine and whatever. Again, there's nothing wrong with this, of course, right? But we have to see like what all of this sort of pendulum swinging does to us and to our industry. So again, pendulum then swings back over here, and it's sort of like all about it's easy, it's easy, it's easy. And we should be making it easier on ourselves in some sense, certainly, right? We have to, as we like grow, as we age, as we become mothers, like we have to find some semblance of like what makes my life easier, what takes things off my plate. And equally, I think it is kind of a racket, you know, like building your own business has parts that are much easier than having a job. And equally, it has parts that are much harder. And I think like we've over indexed so much on this idea of easy that what's happening in our industry a lot is the new people that are coming in because they want it to be so, so easy, not because they're like, I want to be a boss and run my own business, right? And I'm not saying that's better. I'm just trying to like paint the picture. So they're coming in more because they're like, I want it to be easy. And then we have this like really like push pull where a lot of coaches behind the scenes will bitch about like, oh my God, everyone just wants it to be so fucking easy right now. Like nobody really wants to show up right now. Everybody's struggling. They just want done for you, or they want like the easiest thing. And it's interesting because in a way it's like, well, that makes sense. Um, like, of course we want that because as women, we cannot do all of this stuff all the time, right? And equally, like you kind of can't build and run a business without anything ever feeling hard. And I think it's really created this sort of negative spiral in our industry where we're promising easy. It's not as easy as we promise. And then the industry is having these trust fractures and getting this really bad rap. Does that make sense? Um, yes, I think Emily just said that too. She said, I see a lot of people coming to the industry wanting the results, but not the effort. Exactly that. Big difference between easy and easy. Yes. Jess said big focus for sure. Hurts my sales page writing soul. Yes. You keep saying as we age, like that's something we have to do. I mean, like, you know, I personally feel that we don't have to look like we age, but I mean, objectively we are. And I think also like with age, you just realize like what matters and what doesn't, so it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but choosing not to age here. is what I'm all for. So I'm with you. But I think I say that as someone who's like never even gotten Botox. So like, what do I know? But I hear you. Um, I I really think though, there is it's like that's part of what's fracturing the trust, right? Like everyone's coming in, they want it to be really, really, really easy. They find out it's not, and then it's almost like easier to blame the person. And in some sense, the person kind of deserves that because they're marketing that it's easy. And in another sense, it's like, well, obviously, building an entire business isn't all that easy. So, right? It's like really, really challenging. And I think we're all backed into corners a bit of like, do I lean into this easy marketing that people want? Like, that is objectively what they want. Or like, do I not? I think that that's really helpful to see that like there is a push pull there. And I think a lot of people are feeling it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let me see what your comments are. Just said, agreed, all of this. I'm seeing it in new clients, says Lauren. Yeah. Christina said, I really leaned into seasons rather than easy in my live masterclass with most recent launch, and it was really successful. Yes. Right. So it's like, how do we start telling the truth without being like, it has to be hard and miserable all the time? Because, like, obviously that's not true either. Right. But equally, like, sometimes you're going to have to show up. And that's what Christina is saying. Like, you can call it seasons, or you can have ways to talk about this that are both leaning into the fact that people do not want to be hustling their fucking faces off, and equally are leaning into the idea that it does not look like it's always going to feel completely easy in every imaginable way. And if it doesn't, like, you're doing it wrong. Emily said, are you also seeing that it seems objectively harder for newer online business owners, coaches specifically, to break through right now on top of that? To be totally transparent, I don't know that it's harder for them to break through. I actually don't believe that. I do believe it seems harder for people to do the things that are required to break through. Right. And like, no judgment on that. Because when I started, like, I could post a blurry fucking picture of my dog on Instagram. And the game has significantly changed. So I'm not saying it doesn't like take more now, but I don't necessarily see that as like the ultimate problem. To me, the ultimate problem is like, a lot of people aren't becoming business owners because they want to be business owners. They're becoming business owners because it seems easier than something else. Do you know what I mean? Right? Like that's sort of the part. Like it's not like it's actually like, oh my gosh, new people can't come in and grow and break through and whatever. It's more like most of the new people don't want to play that game, is kind of what I'm saying. And again, this is like a broad generalization, right? Um, Yes. What Lacey said. Yes. Christina said exactly what she's saying. Right. Christina like is obviously our Instagram queen. And so it's like the same thing. It's not like it's hard to grow on Instagram. It's just like a lot of people don't want to do the shit to grow on Instagram that you would have to do. Right. Jess said, yes, harder for people to do it is required to break through. Exactly. Right, exactly, Emily. Like it's like they're becoming business owners because they think it's the easier path. Like a lot of us that started again in that kind of like girl boss era, like I think we were like, I'll do the work. Like let me be the boss, right? Like again, it was also easier back then. I could post a blurry photo and it wasn't a thing, but like I do think like the drive or the desire to have the business was more about having the business, where now I think it's more like, holy shit, everything's hard and maybe this is easier. And honestly, I get that. Like being a mom now, my son is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry telling you guys this. My son is starting 2 day a week preschool tomorrow. He's been home with us, he's 3.5. He's been home with us like forever. And a nanny, of course, too. She's here, but like, we're kind of just like all here together all day. And he's starting 2 day a week just in the mornings preschool tomorrow. And even the like logistics of like, when are my husband and I taking him? When are we dropping him off for like a Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 12 kind of thing? And like, what makes sense for our family? And how do we rework schedules and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's a lot. Like, and I have one child. So like there is no shame in someone being like, I think it might be easier if I have a business, if I'm a parent or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I am saying like the motivation or the reason behind it has shifted. And I think so has a lot of people's capacity. And so that capacity to like go all in, I think is lower. And I think the desire is lower. And I also think in some ways the almost like idealized promise of that is lower. I think when we're in a situation where for most people, all of their expenses are going up, it's less sexy than, again, like when I started and it was basically like, can you make enough money to like travel a bunch and shit? Like it really is different. So again, you could make the case of like, well, it makes sense to start a business if like all of your expenses are going up and you want to cover that. But like sometimes it's hard to have high motivation and drive on that. It just is, right? I know, Bennett. Claire said, I was literally thinking about this today. I have a high retention rate, and it's because I'm honest at point of sign up that results can take time and it does work. So managing expectations is so important all around, and obviously goes without saying, but being in integrity means values are aligned. Totally. Yep. It's good to see you, Claire. Christina said, I think the big names who have made it and hustled now burn hustle culture. And I think that perpetuates this. It should be easy and you should have an always regulated nervous system and a 4-hour morning routine. And I think this makes it so hard for new people because so many of them follow and listen to the same names. So few talk about the hard when they were doubling revenue year over year. Said as someone who's definitely in the hard. 1000%. Nothing in our industry pisses me off more right now. Well, I'm sure something could piss me off more if we're being serious, but like as a whole, what is very much pissing me off right now is how many people all of a sudden will be marketing and being like, oh my God, everything was shit in my world a year ago and now it's all better. And I'm like, yeah, but a year ago you were telling us how awesome it was. And it's like these every year they have like a new arc of like everything was shit a year ago, but now it's all better because I figured this thing out or whatever. And it's like, that is part of the problem, right? Like we're really like I always try to say, and I think this is like, important part of this conversation of like, I built my business before I had a young kid. It was objectively easier for me. Hands down, 100%. I will say that all day, every day. It was easier for me when I did it. Like, that doesn't mean I'm a bad business owner. It doesn't mean I'm not good at it, or it doesn't mean anything bad about me. But if I was starting from ground zero with a 3-year-old right now, I guarantee you I would be playing a different game. Like, so it's not to say that any of this is bad. It's just to say I don't think we're doing a good job as an industry of adapting to this and solving this well. I really don't. Um, Jess said, yeah, what Christina said, it's like so many people trying to avoid burnout before they even have clients or made sales. I cannot agree with that more. Um, for a lot of my clients, even if they're like coming back from burnout, it's like they're so scared to get it in again. And I'm like, part of it is that you have to actually like lean in. You have to trust yourself again. And I think that we're really losing a lot of that. And like, yes, I think a regulated nervous system matters. And I think we should all be talking about that. But equally, like the fact that we've equated like a number of hours work to a regulated nervous system doesn't even make sense anyway, right? Like you can show up fully. You can be in a season of like, I don't even want to say hustle because it's like not that, but like you could be in a season of working 40 hours a week or whatever and not be dysregulated. Like those are not the same thing. It's so fucking weird to me that we like always correlate the two. Or you can be doing things in your business that are hard and not be massively dysregulated. Like those aren't, it's just so weird to me because they're not the same thing. I don't get why we do this. Like, because it's just easier, because it's easier marketing, I guess, because it's easier than being like, well, your dysregulation probably stems from your childhood trauma, so you should probably fix that. I don't know. I really don't. But like it doesn't make sense, you know? And I think a lot of the people that are preaching it have really large teams and all of this stuff. Um, that's why I've been talking so much lately about like external support, where it's like, yes, you have to have internal capacity and resource yourself. And also, what makes it a fuck ton easier to do that? Having external support, right? Um, the building toddler game is ridiculous as one who is trying to play it, says Rebecca. Exactly. I need a hell yes button for this. I wish I need to get one of those. It's about nervous system flexibility. If you are always at ease, you're not regulated. Exactly. Thank you, Rebecca. Exactly. It's like we can be doing these things. Like we should be able to live big, full lives that like sometimes look like a big season and sometimes look like a rest season. It's like Christina was saying about seasons. And I just don't think we say that enough. Or we say it in, or, a lot of our industry says it in hindsight. It's like they're saying it a year later when they're talking about like, how everything was fucked a year before or whatever. So this is, I think, creating so much of that trust issue that we've been talking about is that a lot of us entered from a really different mindset in a really, really different place. And like, again, in some ways that served us. And in some ways, like, I think a lot of people, did burn out on that. But also, like, when we swing the pendulum so far the other way, it doesn't help anyone either. Like, I think people are honestly vastly more unhappy in our trying to build businesses in our industry now than they were during the kind of like girl boss era, only because they're trying to do it like perfectly. It's like we're trying to say, like, they're almost like, well, I should never, ever, ever feel overwhelmed, and I should never, ever, ever feel like something's hard, and I should never, ever, and if I do, it means I suck and I'm wrong and I have a shitty nervous system and I'm this and I'm that. Like, it's so gotten so fucking intense. Um, and like it just, we're missing the point so deeply. I really feel like we have to go back to talking about like what is real and what is the middle ground. I'm like, it's like all I can think about. Even like with the Taylor Swift stuff this weekend, like all I can think about is like like all of this like criticism and stuff. And I'm like, I get it. I get some of that. I think we should be able to criticize people we look up to. And equally, like, I think the album's fucking awesome. Like, I just like, for me, it's like always both and. And I think it's this too. Like, it's not like we have to now go back to preaching like hustle your face off. But I think we just have to go back to telling the truth a little bit more. Like the truth that I know as I see it is like my clients who are getting the best results right now are really like showing up for that. They're really working on their messaging. They are really leaning into like, how do I refine this thing? They're like spending the effort to make things good and intentional and putting the time in. It's kind of that simple. And I don't mean that they're working 500 hours a week or that they're, hustling their face off, but like, it's like they really are putting effort into what they're doing. And like the fact that it's almost a controversial thing that I would say that is what has gotten so wild, right? About to get me on my therapy soapbox. Rebecca, here is your soapbox. Please come on it and tell us your opinions. We will take them. Jess said literally nervous system rule number one is to stop making yourself wrong for everything, not using the nervous system as a new cute metric stick. 100%. Like if there is one thing that fucks most women, it's that. I'm getting it wrong. I'm not enough. I'm not getting it right. I'm not doing enough, blah, blah, blah. It's just a different version of it. So I think we just have to start telling the truth a little bit more. And I think we have to source other motivation for our marketing and our clients, right? That marketing of like, it's going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. It's just fucking you and it's hurting your clients. It's like Claire was saying earlier, it's going to hurt your resigns. It's going to hurt your testimonials because people are coming in expecting complete and utter ease and they're not getting it. Oh my gosh, you guys, every fucking live stream this happens to me. I'm sweating my face off. Why have I not changed this? I could literally program this and I have not. I just sit here and have to change the temperature every time. Sorry. See, I could make my life easier, nothing wrong with ease, but I think that we are kind of entering a new era that is about truth. Like we have to start being more truthful, right? Yes, you can get amazing results and yes, it takes effort. Yes, you can still grow really quickly and it's probably going to take you getting really uncomfortable to do that. Yes, you can still show up and have like massive success and you're probably going to have more to bring more intentionality to it than we ever did in the past. Like that to me is the truth as I see it, right? I think that you can find ease in that though. There, like ease is different than easy. We can find ease in that. We can have systems, we can have structures, we can have support, all of that. But if we're not telling the truth about all that, what are we doing? And I think the problem is, like Christina was saying earlier, so many of the kind of like big names in our space are telling a certain version of that truth because it works for marketing. But I think if the industry as a whole starts moving away from that and starts seeing that for what it is and being like, that seems like bullshit, like they'll change too, right? They're just doing what they're doing because it's working, you know? But I think if we were all in a push to like tell the truth more, be more specific, it would get us more sales because most people have been burned by some version of someone not telling them the truth. Like for me, when I think about myself and my clients, I am almost never someone's first stop as a coach. In fact, I would say to you that the majority of my clients hire me and say some version of, if I had come across you 2 years ago, there's absolutely no fucking way I would have hired you then. Thanks, guys. Actually, a client literally said that to me this morning. We were talking about that and she was like, I love you, but if I had found you a year ago, probably wouldn't happen. I was like, respect, right? So like that's okay. Like you don't need to be anybody's first stop necessarily. But I think you will be their last stop in many ways if you are the one telling the truth about this. If you're not pretending that we're in this sort of like, girl boss era, but we're also not like totally in a soft girl era either, right? Like there is a vast middle ground that exists between those two things. And I really believe if we start marketing and messaging to that, helps our industry as a whole, it helps our client retention, it helps results. I mean, like literally all of it. Um, just said LOL, but also we love you so much. I mean, I am totally fine not being the first stop. Um, it's so funny. Uh, Julia Wells, my client, Kenny, when Kenny and I got married, he was, gosh, how old was he? He was older. Like, I think he was 39, 40, something like that. And he had never been married before. And Julia was like, why did it take you so long? Like, why weren't you married before? And he was like, oh, I was just waiting for Lacey. So cute, obviously. But I was in my head, I was like, oh, that's such a pattern of mine. Like, I'm always like down the road. You know what I mean? I am great with that. Like I would rather be like the down the road thing. Um, but I do think that like for a lot of us, we almost have to be okay with being that in our business sometimes if we're going to start telling the truth. If we're not like, well, I'll make them believe it's easy and then they'll have to go hire someone else when they realize it's hard. Like who really wants that, you know? Um, Emily said, but why? Can you elaborate? Like, who were they hiring? I think, I mean, obviously, I won't say who specifically, but I get what you're asking. Like, I think it's more of like that false kind of promise. Like, if you just do this, you'll make $1 million in, 2.5 seconds with this one funnel thing, because that sounds better. Like, I can't compete with that marketing, to be totally honest with you. I don't even try. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that you're going to make $1 million off one funnel in 3 months unless you have like a massive audience and you've already done a lot of work there and da da da. Like, I think it takes more time than that. I think it takes more iteration. And so I'm not going to be able to compete against that, nor do I even try to. It's really more just being the one that's like, yeah, all that didn't work for you. I got you. Yes, chasing promises. Exactly. And like, again, not that there's anything wrong with that per se. I think sometimes we all have to do that. It's like we have to date the wrong person so we realize who the right person is, or we have to like fall for some of the promises and marketing bullshit to see marketing stuff for what it is. And sometimes that's really well spent money. Sometimes that is like a good lesson. It's not always bad to do that. Um, but it does change things. You have to try a bunch of stuff before you can call bullshit on all of that. Exactly, Jess, right? Like you have to be able to see that and trust, like, wait, this doesn't, no, you know? Um, and so I think in this next version, we're gonna have to start telling the truth again about like, yeah, it does take quite a bit of intentionality now. It does take really being thoughtful about the things that you're doing and putting out there. We're away from this phase of like throw out a new offer every week, have it half baked, and that be okay. And honestly, like what I find is a lot of people prefer that. Like most of us don't really love that chaotic version of like throw it all out, let it be total chaos and it's like fine because it'll feel easier. Like most of us don't really want that or buy that. It's just we kind of get like pulled into it when we're hearing that marketing all the time. But I think for a lot of people, it does make sense that like you have to be intentional about your business. It does make sense that it will take a little bit of time. It does make sense, blah, 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 right? And when you can make sense to your buyer, they are more likely to buy. And when you can make sense to your buyer, they're also more likely to stay and retain and have good results, right? Emily said, yeah. Christina said, I've gotten so many messages from new students saying what you say makes so much sense and implying that implying that when they were being taught doesn't. Yes, like exactly that. What you say makes so much sense is like such a key right now. It's so trust building. It positions you as such an expert. It does so much that a lot of these false promises are just not doing anymore. Right. And then we also have to go, well, what do they want? Like, if what they want isn't like the Sex and the City, like heels on career girl vibe, but equally like it's not this sort of like trad wife traditional values, like just like let go of everything and be in the home. Like, what is motivating our consumers right now? What is going to make someone want to do this? we have to really start tapping into that for our audiences. And obviously it's going to be different for everyone and every audience, but I do think that like we have to be looking past that just kind of like surface level idea of like freedom and easy and like career girl that sort of bolstered our industry for so long. With all of my clients, I'm like, we have to get deeper. Like, what do they want? What does it feel like for them now? Like, tell me every little nuance about like the details behind what they want because it is different. It really is. And there has to be enough motivation to do these hard things. So, what we're saying is like, let's tell the truth that it does take stuff, it does take some effort. Well, what makes it worth that? Like, again, we have to start telling the truth about that. For like a lot of us, if you think again about like as a whole, for a lot of people, when they're like, oh my gosh, like all of my expenses are going up and this and that, the idea of them like investing a shit ton into coaching to like hopefully make that out starts seeming less attractive. But if you can be like, here's what that could do for you, in a different way, like, you know, it could change like your family's wealth portfolio and income and blah, blah, blah. And it actually is really worth it because this is going to come out of it. Like you want to get specific on that. Because if not, again, it's like, it's going to stop seeming exciting. Like where it used to seem so exciting was like, oh my gosh, you're going to be able to like travel, blah, blah, blah. Like for so many, I think of us, again, like millennials that have grown up in this space and have an audience of that. Like I think a lot of my audience is in that range, they're like less excited about the like photo shoot in Paris, travel anywhere, do anything, da 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 kind of stuff. And so we've really had to adjust to that. I mean, I personally am too. Like I I mean, I like a trip and I like to do things, but like I would not say that as like my main motivator for starting my or for having my business at all anymore. Like not even close to it, right? And so we do have to like evolve past that. And again, I think to be getting new people in the industry, we have to give them a really, really good reason why that is so different than it used to be. So again, that's obviously different for everyone's audiences, but like really starting to ask yourself that I think matters because I don't think most of us realize, self included, how propped up we were by all of that, like girl boss kind of stuff that was really pushing the narrative for a while. It's almost like we didn't have to do it ourselves. You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh no, we kind of have to make a case again for like getting in this industry. We kind of have to make a case again for like why it's still really awesome to have your own business and do your own thing. Like we kind of have to reinvent that in a season and world where, you know, you're kind of getting a lot of messaging counter to that. And you're getting a lot of, I think, even pressure to not be that kind of like boss as a woman. You know, it's kind of scary and crazy to think about it that way, but it's true. Like we have reverted back so much on that front in the recent year. And that messaging is loud and it's strong. And so we do have to kind of like have something else that, you know, supports it. Nova said, can we all agree to never use freedom as a promise? Business ownership offers freedom to make choices, sure, but not vague ass freedom. It's such a coded word now, too. Yeah, totally. Like freedom, I think, is almost like laughable at this point. And again, not that the freedom of choice isn't like such a foundational reason that a lot of us want that, but it's like we have to get in the weeds with that. Like we have to make that sauce taste good, you know? Like it's not as simple as just being like, oh, this will buy you freedom. Like it really is deeper than that. And for me, a lot of that really just, again, keeps coming back to like trust and telling the truth. Like if and I've been really bad about this lately, I'm really going to challenge myself to work on this more. This is a funny story. Recently I was like, oh, I feel like my reach has been a little bit lower lately on Instagram. I wonder why. Like maybe this is going on, maybe that's going on. I like looked at my content compared to when I feel like was feeling like my reach was lower too. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, my content has just been worse. Like that's all that was happening. And which, you know, like it's really, really helpful to just be able to like know that and name that. But what I was noticing and what I've been really bad at lately, and I want to like challenge myself to be a little bit better at, is I feel like I have gotten so accustomed to like, oh, this is my life now in terms of like, I make this much money and I have this amount of freedom and I do this thing and this is what it looks like in my life, that I am sometimes bad about like really like painting that picture a lot or talking about that experience. And I think that like we really do have to do that for our people. Like if we're not just like broad scope going freedom, or they're not getting pushed in by all of this kind of like girl boss, rah kind of messaging, like what does it feel like? What does it look like? Like what is it like if I look at like what is in my life because of this business, it's absolutely insane, and not in like a performative marketing way, but in like a, it has changed every single thing about how my family is, how my life is, my freedom, my schedule, my flexibility, my money, my bank account, my like everything, right? And so I do feel like we need to be painting those pictures more too. And I don't mean in like this superficial, like, now go out and like talk about everything you're making kind of way. Although I'm not saying don't do that either. Like, obviously that's cool, but more in like are we really painting the picture for people of what this could mean? Because the industry isn't doing it for us anymore. If anything, the industry is kind of making it seem like a pipe dream, right? It's so easy, it's so easy. And then they get into it and they realize it's not. We have to make it seem like it's a grounded, realistic possibility. And a lot of us have that. Like a lot of us have been in business. We're living lives that do express this quite fully. And I think that talking about that, leaning into that, marketing to that a lot more is going to be really important and helpful. And again, with the lens of truth, you know, but like, again, what I get so bad at is like forgetting that truth. Sometimes like, I'm like, oh, like if I even like look at my home, I'm like, oh my God, like this is so amazing that this is what, I've created. But like I get so used to it that I don't even see it as a truth that I should be talking about or something. You know what I mean? Jess and I have such a hard time with normalizing too, like forgetting just how detailed what my business does for me is. Exactly. Like it's so hyper specific, it's so detailed, and it matters because that like girl boss Sex in the City version kind of thing isn't hidden anymore. Like we're far past that. And so we kind of have to do our own job of like really painting that picture. I'm the first to say I'm very bad at this. At least for myself, I'm obviously quite good at pointing out how other people should do that as we are. But I do think it matters. Because like we have to hold two truths at once, right? Like we can hold the truth that this has been a harder year for our industry and a lot has shifted and whatever. And we can also hold the truth that like I have clients that are having their best year ever. I have clients that are gonna have their first $1 million year this year. Like both can be true, right? And we have to be able to talk about both with nuance, and like talking about one doesn't negate the other. That's what I've been noticing. I've been doing a lot in content lately, is just talking too much to like, oh my gosh, like the world is crazier. This year has been hard, or this or that. And I'm like, yeah, all of that's true. And equally, like, my life is bomb. Like, I love what I do and how I show up and how I spend most of my days. And like, we have to like get flavored with both. I feel like, not to be a total cheese ball, but to be a total cheese ball, because we can do that here. I actually feel like the Life of a Showgirl album gave me so much like reminders and permission around that this weekend too. Cause like I feel like she's just like so fucking happy and full of joy. And equally that feels somewhat tone deaf and out of context in like the broader world. And equally, like she's a human who's allowed to be happy and full of joy and in love while shit's crazy. And like we have to be able to hold all of that at once. And so I think that's like another part of our industry. Like, yes, we don't want to be the person that's like, everything's perfect now and it was shit before and da da da. But like, we also don't want to go too far into being like, it's hard, it's so much effort, it's da da da. Like, there is a middle ground. And most of us live that middle ground every day. We're like, there are hard pieces of our business, there are amazing pieces, there are hard pieces of life, there are amazing pieces. And like, if we could all just tell the truth about that a little bit more, I think we would do so much for our industry and we would be doing such a favor. And I think in some ways that's our industry maturing, where it's not all one way or the other. Like some of the maturation of the coaching industry is going to look like more nuanced content, more specifics, deeper context, all of that, right? Christina said people want to be seen for exactly who they are. Example, I talk a lot about spending 40 plus days at Disney with my kids, AKA memories. I attract a lot of people that want memories, but this definitely has to be authentic to each person. Exactly, right? And also, like, your people can fill in the blanks a little bit too. Like, she's attracting people that want memories, but like, it's not like every person that hires Christina wants to be at Disney. Like, that's not the point, right? But it is the point of like, how can you paint that picture so that they can see themselves in that? Like, maybe their version is like at the beach or whatever, but it doesn't matter because like our brains can fill those gaps if we're giving specifics. But again, like that's where like deeper context, what Jess was saying about like how deep the what my business does for me actually is, and really showcasing more of that, because I feel like, yes, we need to tell the truth that it takes work and effort and energy, and equally we need to tell the truth about like how much that can change your life on the other side of it. I was thinking about this too, like I have paid off 200K in student loan debt of my own. I have paid off our nanny's student loans. I have like where I was compared to where I am is so wild because of this business. And I cannot remember the last time I talked about the student loans. You know what I mean? Like it's little things like that where it's like, we don't have to like promise it's going to be easy every step of the way. But equally, like I think some of us have gotten really far away from talking about the juice of it too. And why? Well, because sometimes it feels bad to be talking about that when it feels like the whole industry is just like lying their faces off about how easy it is. And so sometimes, again, I do this too. Sometimes we over index the other way. We're like, oh my God, everybody's just so full of shit. And so I'll say this stuff. But like, if we all just started saying all of it, it would go better. And so anyway, I think like for me, the businesses that are going to do really, really well coming up are the ones that are able to do both, that are able to be like, it has been a harder year and here's what I'm seeing. And equally like, here are the specifics of results, and I can hold both, and my business can mature to a point where I can market to both, and I can become such a great marketer that I'm able to speak to both. Like, it doesn't have to be equally, right? Like, but speak to both regularly and consistently and tell the truth about both and do it in a really, really authentic way. I think we are getting so over this old stuff, but like, even like, I feel like we used to make like hustle the sort of like enemy in all of our villain, whatever, in all of our marketing. And it's like, nobody's even hustling anymore. It seems like, you know what I mean? Like I again, some people are, but like broad strokes in our industry, it's almost like hustle isn't even the villain anymore. Like nobody's hustling. We almost have to like go the other way and be like pick it up a little, guys. But we have to give people a reason to do that. And we have to make that seem exciting. And we have to tell the truth about all that. So I think we are leaving behind girl boss. I think there is a lot less of this sort of like energy propping, women up to kind of like come into here. In fact, I think there's more women would have to really get past a lot to start their own coaching business now, more so than we even did, or than I even did, I'll say. Like I actually think it would take more now in terms of like the societal view on it. Like it was so positive, I think, when I started. And I think certainly like coaching had like some stuff around it as it always has. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I think this like idea of like women entrepreneurship online and whatever, um, it's, it's almost become more negative. Like I was talking to someone the other day about how like, um, even for like so many influencers, it's like they almost don't even want to be seen as an influencer anymore. They want to be like starting their own other business and be seen as like a businesswoman, be sitting on panels and speaking. And again, not that any of that's bad, but it's like there is sort of like this negativity, I think, towards women like doing certain things in certain ways. Um, and I feel like there's like the people that are starting now are going to have to push back against a lot to want to start now. And we really do want to be pulling them in and being like, yes, this still is a good thing. I promise. Like it's worth the bullshit, you know? And I think the more we talk about that and the more we talk about why, and equally that you are going to have to deal with some bullshit, is when things get better for everyone in the industry. It's when trust gets easier. It's when people's expectations get more realistic and people are happier with their businesses. They are more regulated because of that. And it's like this whole domino effect that helps so many other things. So that is my soapbox for today. Hey Liz. Yeah, Claire. Oh my God, my dentist. Give me a break. I cannot even. I mean, I shouldn't say my dentist because he's obviously not my dentist anymore, but yes, can't. Okay. So I feel like that was my rant. Thank you for coming to my rant. But I also hope it gives you a lot of permission to be like way more detailed, way more transparent, way more honest, both about what it takes and also what it's doing for you. I think in an AI world, we're so over all of this like fake bubblegummy, it's so easy kind of stuff. Like that is what is going to be the standout for what's next. So I appreciate you guys being here so much. This was such a fun conversation. If you guys have thoughts on this, I would love to hear them, talk to you about them. I find this so fascinating. And I'll see you guys next week. And remember, the podcast is out. Season 12 is live. So give that a listen in the meantime. All right. Bye, guys.